Hi, I'm John from Bike Social. I'm here today with Gary Hartshorn from Bridgestone. You're the Senior Product Manager across Northern Europe, aren't you?
I am, for my sins.
Also, quite
yes.
a rider. You put a lot of miles in, what, 25,000 miles a year?
25,000 miles a year, perhaps in total. Trials, racing, adventure riding, enduro, rallies, you name it.
There's a lot of touring you're doing as well,
I do a lot of touring, yeah.
GSA and you're using that?
Yeah, I do a lot of touring on my own and with my missus as well. So yeah, I'm out on a bike quite regularly. Yeah.
So choosing tyres is important. They're what make your bike stay on the road. But I think, as you said before, they are a bit of a grudge purchase, aren't they?
They are.
But I think to choose the right tyres, if you understand how they're made and what goes into them, you can get the right ones for your ride and your style. So first off, let's talk about a sports bike rider. They've got the sports bike, but they only use it for touring. Should they be going for the grippy sports stuff, or can they? No,
they should be going for this, a T31. That's exactly what they should be going for.
Yeah.
The performance of this tyre will far outperform most people.
Yeah.
Probably 95% of people this tyre will outperform, even on a sports bike.
Yeah.
They're really, really good. Great wet weather performance, which is what you want. If you're going to do mileage, doesn't matter what bike you're on, if you're going to do mileage on it, you want something that's going to last, but you want something that's going to work in all the conditions.
Yeah.
Because you can ride 1,000 miles, and within that 1,000 miles, you can have four seasons in one day, can't you?
Yeah.
You can. So the best option is to fit a touring tyre.
So why is that tyre good? For what goes into this? How has that been made, and what have you done with it to make it a good?
One of the main things in a sport touring tyre is the ingredients within the compound, but without going into it too deep. But one of the main things is silica.
Right.
Silica is an anti-abrasant.
Yeah.
So the more silica we use, the longer the tyre will last.
Yeah.
But it will also mean that we can use a softer compound.
Right.
So we can use it and make more grip.
Yeah.
Without sacrificing mileage.
Right.
But the one drawback with using silica is that the more silica you use, it creates static electricity.
Right.
So within tyres, and we get quite a few photos through from end users saying, well, I've got a line down the tyre, there's something wrong with it, is it catching on something? Yeah. But what's built into the tyre, which you probably can't see here, you can probably see it a little bit there, but anyway, in there is an antenna. Right. And what that does, it basically eradicates the static electricity.
It's earthing
It earths it, yeah, exactly that. It earths it. So if you pull into a garage and there's a spot of fuel spill, if we hadn't got an antenna and it sparks, obviously it could go up in flames. Yeah. But it doesn't, because we've got the antenna in there. Right. So that enables us. So that's the modern technology now.
But that's silica then. You're talking about the abrasion between everything that's inside the tyre.
Yes.
Right, so, because I used to think of tyres of 15, 20, 25 years ago and thinking, oh, well, if there's a touring tyre, it's hard, so it will last a long time, but it won't have any grip. But that's not the case anymore.
Not anymore, no. And because of the silica, like I say, it is an anti-abrasant, so we can use softer compounds without sacrificing mileage. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, okay. So, obviously, wet weather performance is important in a touring tyre.
Yep.
Because of that. What difference does tread pattern make?
Tread patterns are hugely important. Not only does it have to be aesthetically pleasing, because there are riders out there that will think, well, I like the look of that tyre, or they don't like the look of the tyre, whatever. And they may buy on the way that it looks. But that's not just the answer to it all. We have to make sure that the grooves and the way that they're shaped internally and the way that they're shaped around the tyre, because when you go around the corner, the tyre deforms. So that means that will deform as well. So we want to make sure that it doesn't close up, because we need it to suck water up and chuck it out the other side, so that we create a dry patch for the next part of the slick tyre to rotate onto, and so on and so forth. So it's not as simple as just putting lines in it.
Okay.
They are designed in a certain way. Yeah. In conjunction with the carcass underneath, the way that it deforms and creates the long, wide contact patch on the tarmac, but that has to also follow suit and make sure that it works at the same time. So, but of course, the more grooves we've got, the better water disbursement we're going to have, providing they're all shaped and positioned in the right place.
So this touring tyre, obviously we mentioned sports bike, but I'm assuming this is the right tyre for a big R1250 RT or something like that. This is a touring tyre, but I know we've got another one here, because talking about the aesthetics. If you've got something like a Multistrada or the GS, and you're completely honest with yourself, you're not taking it off-road, but you're using a big adventure bike, why would you have this one? So it's the A41, so adventure.
Yeah, adventure tyre. I mean, as a touring tyre, it's brilliant.
Yeah.
Again, it's dual compound, just like the T31. In fact, the front's dual compound as well.
So right.
Yeah,
so
it's the only adventure tyre on the market at the moment that's dual compound front and rear.
Right.
So obviously longevity is going to be good. You can say again from the grooves, the weather disbursement is good.
Yeah.
But it's chunkier. You know, there's bigger, wider grooves, so it matches the look of the bike.
Yeah.
So it depends on how much of a purist you are. I mean, I've got a GS, I run A41, and I can choose whatever I want. You know, I choose the A41. I've even had panniers down with an A41.
Really?
Yeah, I've had the panniers down on my GS. So it just gives you an example of how good they are.
Yeah.
Just because it looks like a rough, pure adventure tyre, which it is, but it's still exceptionally good. Yeah. In dry and wet conditions as well. So it depends, you know, you can choose either. It depends on what you want the tyre to look.
Are they similar kind of compounds?
Yeah, they're very similar to each other.
So really this is almost, it's pretty much an aesthetic choice.
Correct.
For how you want, I mean, it is an important styling part, it's a big party bike.
Yeah.
Pressures. So on a touring bike, especially, you know, it may well be, you might be on your own, not going far, or you might be two up, full panniers, everything. Do you increase your tyre pressures?
It depends on which tyre pressure you've got to start.
Okay.
Quite often you'll have two. One will
so we're talking about what the bike manufacturers said.
Yes,
two.
or the tyre manufacturer, either or. We both have to adhere to the same rules, so it's irrelevant. Yeah. So there'll be two. There'll be a lower one. Yeah. That will basically mean you're riding on your own. There's no panniers, or there's a top box with very few bits and bobs knocking about, probably a spare pair of gloves and a jacket or whatever. Yeah. Use the lower ones. If then you load the bike and you've got your panniers on, your top box is full and everything's full, and you've got your pillion on, the misses and stuff, and you're off on a proper tour somewhere, then use the higher ones.
Okay. So, but if some of the bikes I've had, they've just got one set of pressures, and say for example 3642. Yeah. Do I not put the tyre pressures up on that? Do you just stick with what they say?
No, because 3642 will most probably be, 99.9% of the time, will be the highest pressure that you can use anyway, according to the guidelines and the regulations which we have to adhere to. Yeah,
and that's based on the weight going through each wheel, isn't it?
Correct, it's an axle weight. Right. So obviously a motorcycle will have an overall weight, but these are an axle weight. Yeah. So like the load index on the tyre will be a maximum load over the axle that the tyre can take at a certain pressure. Yeah. So if you lower the pressure, it will take less weight. Yeah. So when you've got your pillion and you loaded luggage, etc., just use the 3642. That's the best option to use. So
use what it says in the handbook or on the sticker on the swing arm or whatever.
Exactly.
Use that pressure.
If there's only one pressure, then use that pressure. Yeah. Don't drop it down, because we will have designed the tyres, and the bike will have been designed around the tyres as an OE product from the ground up, you know, from the drawing board up, at those pressures, and the carcass of the tyre will be made to suit the pressures that we recommend. Yeah.
Now, I've also seen people saying on forums, this doesn't sound right to me, dropping the tyre pressures in the wet for better grip.
No, you should just leave them as they are. Yeah, whatever we recommend, because what will happen is certainly on this one, where if you make the carcass more pliable, all it's going to do is squeeze these together, and it's not going to suck up as much water and disperse it. So you'll actually create less grip, because then you'll aquaplane, because there'll be a film of water between the tarmac and the rubber, and that's you're trying to avoid that. Yeah. That's what you want to get rid of, not create.
Yeah, yeah. Now, a lot of touring bikes, you know, there could be somebody's using it for a fantastic big summer tour or something like that, but it may well get laid up over winter. Do you need to worry about how you keep the bike?
Yeah, you do. It's important, really. If you've got the option of taking the wheels out, put them in the loft. Yeah. It's dark, it's dry, it's out of sunlight, perfect conditions. If you don't want to do that, most people put on a touring bike, it'll have a centre stand anyway. Yeah. So fire it on a centre stand so that there's no weight on the tyres. If you haven't got a centre stand, then paddock stands. Yeah. If you haven't got paddock stands and it's just on the tyres, then that's where you really need to start looking into things, because the rubber is porous. Yeah. It will leak over a period of time. So, and especially with the weight of a heavy bike, over a couple of months, the pressure will reduce. So you then put in extra pressure on the tyres as they go down in pressure. You also need to make sure you put them on carpets or rugs. something like that, because when the concrete is cold through the winter, we first get like beasts from the east like we had from last year. Something along those lines, where it's minus something, the concrete will really, really cold, and that can affect the compound. Once it gets too cold, it goes into what we call a glass transition, where it becomes brittle and then can start to crack. So if you haven't got paddock stands, lift the pressures, check them every couple of weeks, raise them up, put it on a carpet, and then every couple of weeks just spin the wheels and put them on different parts of the tyre, so that you try and keep it even around the tyre as you go through the months of not using it.
And that distortion, we're not talking about when you go in and you think, oh, I've got a flat. It's not necessarily a visible distortion. It's just you're overloading in one point.
Yeah, it could have gone down 10, 15 psi, which may not be noticeable. But over a period of time, you put in extra weight. Okay.
So scrubbing tyres in. There'll be a lot of touring riders who've had years of scrubbing tyres in, they're not worried about it, but there'll be some new riders out there. What's the rule of thumb? Is it true they're covered in release agent and they're going to fall off as soon as they come out? What's the score?
Some manufacturers will have a release agent. From a Bridgestone perspective, we don't have release agents in the moulds. We have extremely high quality moulds, so the tyres just pop out easily. In terms of scrubbing them in, all you need to do really is just make sure that the tyre's roughed up from left to right, right to left. The best way to do that is just slowly increase your lean angles, make sure that you've got a used part, new part, sort of halfway, and then just keep increasing the lean angles right to left. No sharp accelerations, no heavy braking through corners and things like that. And once you've got them scrubbed in, they'll be absolutely fine. We recommend around 200 miles to get them scrubbed in, but you can actually scrub them in about a mile iRace, as we've already said, and you can do it in a lap. But
these aren't race bikes, though.
They're not race bikes, but the whole point is it's not just scrubbing the tyre in, it's running the tyre in. And running the tyre in...
So it's not just about getting rid of that smoother
it's
surface.
About... The tyre's probably been fitted with some fitting paste, so it's slippery. So you need to make sure that's dry, because if you get some hard acceleration, the tyre could spin on the rim.
Really?
If it spins on the rim, it's then out of balance. Simple as that. So you need to make sure that that's correct. But also as well, the tyre has many different layers in the carcass underneath, in the construction of the tyre. You need to let them settle into each other. And it's like one of the sort of examples I use is if you were loaded the van full of boxes, or a van, and you shove that last box in at the end, and then you drive half an hour down the road, you open the doors and you can pull the box out. So everything just settles down and moves down. So it's not just about roughing the tyre up and scrubbing it in. It's about all of those variances that you need to make sure that's right before you then go into full ride mode, if you like.
Well, and hopefully it wouldn't happen, but if you get a puncture, especially if you're out on a big tour, can you repair tyres?
This one you can't. That one you can, because that one's V-rated. This one is.
So legally, by British standards?
Yeah, well, it's British standards. It's not really a law, it's British standards, which is BSAU 159F. So anything up to and including V, you can repair, providing you stick to 75% of the middle, 3mm diameter hole, and it's not in a groove or a sidewall, then you can repair it with a proper mushroom. But if it's Z-rated, British guidelines say that you don't repair it, just steer clear, just get a new one.
Getting you out of trouble, if you're in the middle of nowhere, you get a puncture and a roadside puncture repair kit, you could get away with it, but you need to get...
Absolutely. I mean, I carry with me, I always carry certain things in my top box, along with a few spanners and things like that. But I always get one of those Motul canister things, where you literally just screw it onto the valve, and it's got compressed air in it, and it's got the sealant in it. So it blows it up, get to the local garage, dealer, whatever, and then just get it repaired.
Then either get it replaced
or
get
it repaired or replaced on whichever you're going to do. So I always make sure I carry one of those with me everywhere I go.
Cool. Well, I mean, tyres they're a grudge purchase, aren't they? If we're honest.
They are.
Or they can be, but they're a massively important part of your bike, and it can be intimidating and confusing trying to work out which ones to buy. But I think once you understand what's going into them, there's less fear of, oh God, am I going to buy the wrong tyres?
Yeah, I think you've got to be true to yourself, ring the manufacturer, ask them what they would recommend, tell them what you're going to do.
Would you be Bridgestone, are you happy for people watching this to go, oh, I'm going to ring Bridgestone?
Absolutely, we have a technical department, we have a contact centre. Ring, don't guess. Tell us what you want to do, and we will recommend the correct
What do you need
tyre.
to know if somebody's like, oh God, I don't know what tyre to get?
We need to know, are you going thousands of miles? Are you commuting? Are you going on track? Are you going off-road? Are you going adventure riding? What are you doing? Tell us what you're doing, what bike you've got, and we will recommend the right tyre for you. Don't get drawn into your mate says you should have this and you should have that because it's the grippiest. No, it's the grippiest according to what you do.
Yes.
As in, that's not going. If you're going to do a lot of off-road riding, that's not going to be the best tyre for you, is it?
No.
But if you're going to do a lot of road riding, then the knobbly isn't going to be the best tyre for you. So there's always the best tyre. Ring us, tell us, we'll advise.
Excellent. Brilliant. Thanks very much for your time.
You're very welcome. Thanks
Cheers.
very much.
Ta.